Sitting on the front porch with family or friends brings a cherished sense of comfort and connection, where the simple joys of music and conversation blend into moments of shared wisdom and growth. It's a space where life's lessons are exchanged freely, and every interaction is meaningful.
Because there's so many people I speak to. I just spoke to a young lady the other day, and she told me like she really didn't know what she wanted to do. And so I asked her what she was good at. And then she was like, well, I'm good at talking. I said, well, there you have it. I said, now you just have to find what you want to talk about that's going to be good for the people to hear.
Let's join into today's podcast.
And
Oh,
so
I love the LS. Oh, I love LS.
Yeah.
I love a good initial. Reminds me of an LS Lexus.
There you go.
I don't even know if it's an LS Lexus, but it sounds like it should go with the
There
name.
you go. All right. I know where my next picture is going to be taken at.
So yeah,
Life's so fun.
it
You gotta
is.
have fun. Yeah.
You gotta be joyful. You gotta be upbeat. You gotta do what you gotta do. So yeah, so I'm so happy about that with the book. I never knew that like with the anthology. I even thought about anthology one time.
Yeah.
It was recently. Now I didn't think about it in the way that you may think I was thinking about it. Now I was actually thinking about the anthology in the way of the Bible.
Okay. Explain to me.
So I said to myself, I said, the first anthology was actually the Bible because
Yes.
you have 66 books and 40 authors.
Yeah. And over so many years, and it all makes sense.
And it all makes sense. And the way I came up with this is one day I was having a conversation with someone, and they were saying how the Bible's, a contradiction. People have their,
I hear that.
conversations.
Yeah.
I said, no, 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 no. It does not. I said, it's really not. I said, what God really did, if you really sit and really think about the Bible and take it all in. I said he just used the psychological part of an individual to interpretate his spiritual aspect of what they were going through.
Yeah.
So, what you may get from one in one chapter or in one book, the other person may come with something totally different according to what they're going through. So, if you and I are going through something, he has to speak to us where we are.
Oh, yes.
You,
Yes.
you know what I mean? He's not going to speak to LS like he's going to speak to. I'm gonna use my initials. I just feel like I just want to be on initials.
Alrighty.
He's not going to speak to LS the way he speaks to DL. He's just not.
Right. That's right.
So even if we're going through the same thing, there are going to be psychological differences in the way our minds and our hearts are set for him to do his work.
You know what that reminds me of is the example that people will use for whatever it is, whether it's psychology, police work, ambulance, whatever. You've got 10 people that witnessed this, let's say a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
So you are going to have 10 people who see it through their own eyes. They're going to
Right.
give you 10 different stories of what happened. So when you hear all 10 of them, you get a pretty good idea of what really happened. But each one that was there is going to be different. I was just listening to Jim Rohn, and he
Mm-hmm.
says at one of the talks he had one person come up to him and say, "Wow, that was so powerful. I love the way you explained that. I totally understand it now, and I know I can achieve something."
Mm.
Then he had another person come up to him, tell him about the same thing he talked about, and he said, "It's about time somebody came up and told what a bunch of crap this is and how everything is awful. I am so glad you did that."
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like it was the same exact talk, but two different thoughts came out of it. So, yeah, there might be something in the Bible that you say, oh, it contradicts itself, but it really doesn't. You have a different way of saying it because we as people sometimes need to hear something a different way to
Yeah.
understand it.
I always say that. Some people, it's like the gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they all visit Jesus, Jesus visit all of them. It's
Yeah,
just that the story is going to have a little bit of difference because we have it from four different individuals. But
right.
I was talking to someone the other day, and we was talking about the way like we perceive how certain people talk. I said, I'm really better with people who are more logical. I know when I'm speaking to someone more logical
Right.
because even when like certain preachers, now a person who has more passion and more emotion may be saying the same thing as them, but my mind is not going to comprehend it, or I will say kind of digest it is the word, better word, digest it as if someone that was saying it where it was mentally being broken down, like, oh, it hit me different.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I think
Exactly.
some people speak with their emotions, and I think some people speak with their minds. I think
Yep.
they both intertwine, of course. Hence why, LS, I wrote a book about emotions because
Yep.
I was one of those people who did not know how to deal with my emotions.
Right.
So I had to
Right.
figure out how to get this all together.
Yeah.
So
What's the
so I
name of
did.
your book?
It's called Finding Emo. Oh, listen, I thought you never asked. I always keep it next to me. Always keep it next to me. Go get it. Finding Emotional Maturity. This is actually when it the first copy, the actual first copy is not for resale. Finding Emotional Maturity through Emotional Awareness. And it talks about how we unlearn the emotions of our past because we all pick up something.
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing about it is that everyone talks about mindset, but no one talks about a heart set. We
Yeah.
have to set the heart.
So true.
Yeah. We always talk about the mindset, but where does the emotions lie with this? Because as much, and I think what happens is when we get into the emotional part of or the emotional part, we find more depth. I do feel like the mind is very powerful, but
Yeah.
I feel like the emotions hold more depth, if I could kind of define it that way. So the
Right.
heart is where we have to. So people always say, I got to cut people off. I got to do this. I got to do all that. But when we really figure out and find out the depth of love, love is patient, love is kind, love is long suffering. Then we get to those places in the emotion that we are supposed to be cleansing, that the mind cannot fathom in certain areas or certain parts because it's too busy wrestling against its own self,
Oh, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I was doing a study right now about mindset, really delving into it because I realize I've got a lot of garbage in there from, whatever.
Mm,
And and
we all
it's
do.
and it needs to be changed.
Right.
And so I'm listening to Jim Rohn, listening to Bob Proctor. And
Mhm.
Bob
Love
Proctor, I
them.
went and got my notebook, and he talks about how attitude is the composite of our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. So you think of it like a cake. Someone
Mhm.
brings you a cake, you don't go, oh, what yummy flour, or what yummy cinnamon, or
Mhm.
what yummy milk. You
Mhm.
go, oh, what a yummy cake. So your feelings,
Yes.
thoughts, your heart, your mind, and then the action you take on that goes with that. So that worked out really well with what you're saying. And it's like you have to deal with all of it. And
Yes.
and some may have more feelings like you were saying, some may have more thoughts like you were saying.
Yes.
And but it's all good because there are almost 9 billion people in the world, and
Makes
not
the world go
everybody
round.
is going to be exactly the same. So we need them.
Yes.
Yeah.
The world would be boring if everybody was the same.
Oh man,
Honestly.
wouldn't it?
I mean, I'm just being honest. I think the world would be so boring if the world was the same. I think
Yeah.
that when it comes down to life in itself, it has to give us the bad and the good.
Look
Because to
at
be,
this up here. If everybody was the same, there wouldn't be this
oh
variety
my God, it wouldn't
right
be that
here.
colorful. It
Yeah,
wouldn't be that colorful. It wouldn't be that colorful. And that's what, again, is like sometimes people like I would get in certain conversations and people be like, well, you do it this way. I'll be like, and that's what makes the world go around.
that's
Because
right.
I'm doing it the way that I feel that it's conducive for me.
That's right.
Uh,
And that's what we have to do. I'm
yeah.
in a group, and I'm listening to the different voices. You have someone from South Africa. you have someone from England, you have someone from Australia, and I'm listening to all of these different voices. There was somebody from, oh, I think it was two different parts of the UK, and you could tell. I mean, as
Mm,
soon as they start talking, oh, it's like, oh, I think you're from around London or this, but I'm listening to these voices
right.
and they're beautiful, beautiful voices. And I'm thinking, how amazing, just absolutely amazing. It's got to be in heaven, especially when everybody starts singing together. That's just got to
Amazing.
be phenomenal. And it's like, I just can hardly wait. You know, I love
I
it.
know I know that's right,
I'm not in a
LS.
hurry,
No,
but
but I understand the excitement of seeing that and feeling that.
yeah,
Listen, I understand because sometimes when people sing, they bring such a voice that it's like, wow, if
yeah.
you sing like that, how does it sound in heaven?
And I'm ready to go to heaven, so I can sing, so people like to hear it. Because right now, my baby grandkids, when I would first singing, they were like, they'd cry, and it's like, no, so I'd quit, so I'd hum, and then they would be smiles. And so it's like,
Mm.
okay, I can't sing to my grandkids till they're a little older, and then we'll sing fun songs. But
Together, yes.
that's right.
Chorus, yes.
But it's like, yeah, and even at that, somebody's got to be the cheerleader. Somebody has to be the audience to hear the singers. And I'm giving a talk next weekend on leadership, and
Yeah,
there are so many different ways to be a leader.
yeah.
And but what kind of a leader? Why do you want to be a leader? What
That's
kind
it.
of leader do you want to be? Um, and do you
It
want
comes
to be
with so
one
many,
that,
so
go
much.
ahead.
No, I was just saying too, what you were saying comes with so much.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you have such a great responsibility. You really do. I mean, our history shows leaders that could lead, but they led into tyranny and oppression
Hmm.
and such devastating things. And then you have other leaders that don't really claim to be a leader, but people will follow them to the ends of the earth, so to speak.
Hmm.
And they lead with love and compassion and it's interesting because if you look at some, I'll just say some marriages, you have husbands who are stern and strict and do what I say, and then you have the other husbands who give leeway to their family, to their wife,
Hmm.
and let them make the mistakes, let them do the things they do, and then they learn and they grow
Hmm.
together and they get stronger. So it's yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, well, and it definitely is. And I was able to see my grandfather like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I never heard him yell, LS.
No, mine either.
Never,
My grandpa
I've
never.
never heard my grandfather yell, and he always parted us with wisdom. That was it. He said what he said, and it made like a like proverb sense. Like, where did you get it? It was so deep.
Grandpa proverb.
Yeah, like he was just very wise. I never heard him yell at my grandmother.
My grandma neither. Yeah,
Yeah. I just never he worked hard for his family and I just never heard him yell. He was just a man of much wisdom and great patience.
wow.
He had a voice deep like Earl Jones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he had one of them baritones. Now on the flip side, I also seen where like my father was more demanding. Love him, but he was very much more demanding on the flip side. So had the opportunity to see how, because when I feel like even as a parent or in a marriage, you have to be available. One thing I said, even when I was young, I felt like this, LS. There are certain things that come with individual lessons and processes, whether you are married or whether you are single. And whether you are married or not does not stop the process from happening. You still have to grow.
Right,
And it's how you're growing. That's why some people grow apart and some people continue to grow together. And that's where we get with the equally yoked from. Is
right,
how are you grow with that individual? Because the problem is that when you grow there's going to be challenges that then hit the relationship because the one is not familiar to this new growth. And now
Right.
it's up to that other individual to now try to say, huh, it's not, and the crazy thing is, it is that they're changing, but they're evolving. We
Right.
can't always see it. Sometimes we use change and oh, you're acting different. No, they're evolving into someone where God wants to meet them. And if you're not in that place to hear the voice of God, you will feel kind of intimidated. You'll get intimidated by the growth that the person that you're married to or the person that you're with is starting to become. So
Right.
this is why marriages become a challenge or relationships become a challenge because we have growth spurts. And the crazy thing is each individual has a growth spurt. So you have to be wise. I remember one day I was praying, and I said, you know what, God, don't ever allow me to have the spirit of jealousy come into my
Oh,
heart.
yeah.
And the reason why is because a lot of times you'll see someone else, and the first thing you do is you start comparing, because I truly believe jealousy starts coming in when you start comparing, and you cannot
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So I
It's
said,
not good
God,
for you.
no, I
Yeah.
feel like you're your biggest competition.
Yep.
LS is her biggest competition. DL is her biggest competition. We are our biggest competitions. And we cannot go by, and this is what God had brought to me when I was in the midst of praying about it. He said, Danielle, the problem is that we see people where they are, where they at, but we never saw what they were going through behind the scenes.
Oh, yes.
So the blessings that come in the front are already some of the things that have already been sown in private. So if you don't want to go through what they went through, take your story as the story. Because your story has its
Right.
own, you know what I mean? Take your
Yeah.
own story as the story. And so that's what actually happened because it's a terrible feeling, to be honest with you. I don't even know how people stay there. Seriously.
Yeah.
I don't even know how people stay there. But I said that ain't a heart that I want.
Yeah.
I want my heart pure and I want it just.
Yep. Yeah.
So a lot of people won't talk about it because it sounds so, oh my God, no, I would never. No, listen, we are all human. It's in the Bible. Listen, you have to admit your negatives as well as your positives
Oh,
because you
yes.
can't eliminate your negatives without acknowledging them.
Yep.
So I never forget saying that to myself. One day I felt it kind of creep up and I said, mm-mm. I said, no, no, no. I said, don't do that. I said, you can't do that. So one thing I've learned about the work when I started going through my emotional journey is that I had to connect with a lot of things that I didn't like about myself.
Yeah.
I had to sit in them, LS. I had to sit in them. And I think that's what happens when it comes down to a heart set. We don't like to sit in the heart of it. We want to move because we really don't want to feel. And the crazy thing is sometimes is we don't want to admit that we're even feeling the destructive way that our heart is feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
You
one,
know?
we never even thought we would be there. Or two, it's like, this just ain't right. And this is not where I want to be. But like you said, if you're not sitting in it,
Gotta sit
figuring
in
it
it.
out, acknowledge it so you can eliminate it, I guess is a way to put it.
Yes, you have to remove it. And I think that is the difference between a mindset and a heart set.
Yes.
A mindset is, I believe, in my own opinion, is that it's helping you grow in ways where you're being challenged with certain things. You're being challenged.
Right.
But the heart, you have to sit. The mind, you're like growing. You're like, that's why there are people that are in their careers and they're good at the career in the role that they're in, but they suck at their identity.
Yeah. I know
Just
that sounds strange, but that's true.
yeah, they're good. They are overachievers when it comes down to their career, when it comes down to the role of life. But when it comes down to them achieving the emotional side, it's like they're garbage. It's like They don't, and when I say they're garbage, it's like not literally Jesus. It's just that they are to a point where they're a mess inside and don't even know that money would never buy. This is why a lot of people who gain a lot of money are still not fulfilled.
Right.
Fulfillment really comes when you start cleansing your inside. I truly believe that's why God said He cleanses us from the inside to the out.
Oh, yeah.
We
Yeah.
externally look at a lot of things. We externally want to see what people have to give us, whatever the motive is. And we externally want to judge how people are as well. I was going to put this on Facebook one day. I'll probably put it somewhere down the line. I don't know. But I said, judgment is overrated when the heart is tainted.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like it's clear you can see the issue of an individual, but what about do you see the heart of the individual? This is why it's about a heart set, because this is what is being really judged with God. It's the heart. It ain't what you really doing on the external. You go to church every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But where is the heart of the human? Where's the compassion? One of the things that God has showed me during my journey is grace.
I love Grace. I
Yeah,
love Grace so
we
much.
all do. Well, with some of us, I don't know. You and
Yep.
I both do. I'm gonna just keep us in the box right with us. You
That's
and yeah,
right.
seriously, it's the grace. Like,
Yeah.
how do I even like grace? It allows me to see things different. It allows my eye, the lens of my eyes to change because I'm looking at it more from a compassionate standpoint than an arrogant one.
Right. Right. You know, that
Yeah.
reminds me of the Bible verse where God says, and I love the words he uses. He says,
Mm.
take the log out of
Yeah.
your own eye before you take the speck out of somebody else's eye. And and that never really hit me. I always heard that, but it never hit me till this week. It's like, whoa, he's talking about that log in there. And a lot of people can use that verse for a lot of ways, but I think it's so true. And God gives us the grace to see that in ourselves so we can remove it. So we
Yes.
don't have to try to take the speck out of somebody else's eye, but we
Yeah.
can be there to lovingly say, look, I had a
Mhm.
huge log in my eye. You just got a little tiny speck, but if you want, I'm here for you.
Mhm.
Instead of what's the word they're using, being catty and all of
Yeah.
that. It's
Aggie.
like, yeah,
Mhm.
there's no need for that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's really different when you have to. The thing about it is, I found with grace, it becomes more effective when you go through something and you come out of it,
Yes,
because then you gain compassion. Like, it might not be the same thing that somebody else went through,
right. I
but
think
it
it
still
gives you an
brings an
understanding
understanding.
too, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah,
It
it's
brings an
like,
understanding.
oh, I get it now. Yeah,
Yes.
this is why.
Yes.
Like, crap, I had to go through it to understand it. It's like, Lord,
Yeah.
help me to understand without having to go through things.
Yeah.
I think
That's what
that
makes life
compassion, that
alive.
grace, yeah. Yeah, and I like that. You're giving somebody grace. If you don't understand what you're going through, but you're still going to be there for them for what they need, that's giving them grace.
Yes.
And
It's
so
just what it
important.
is. And I learned that like you don't always understand what people are going through. And I
Right.
don't try. Let me just be clear about that. But I do understand that there's certain things that my lips do not need to speak, but my prayers need to go up for.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So with that, I've learned how to be more humble with error.
Oh, good. Oh,
People,
I
when I
like
see,
the way you say that.
yeah, I've learned, yes, I have to, because you have to. And to be honest, I always say, I'll be like, God is so funny. He is one of the greatest and most wonderful, funniest gentlemen fathers I've ever known. Because I look at it how God orchestrated life.
Oh
And I
man, yeah.
say when I look at, marriage and I look at, people that are in relationships, I said that's like the first thing of sacrifice. That's that was the first lesson. The second lesson, if you don't get through that, is the kids.
Yep.
It's an order to it. Seriously. Like, if you don't know how to, and I remember I was having a conversation with a friend, LS, and we was talking about relationships. And I said, listen, if you don't know how to sacrifice, I feel like compromise, that's not really the word. It's really sacrifice. If you don't know how to sacrifice, you're really not going to know how to keep a relationship.
Yeah.
Because, because there's so, and I'm not talking about in a bad way. I'm not talking about like
No,
in a way where,
no.
somebody's getting, in a bad situation. But I mean sacrifice where there are going to be things you don't understand about that individual and you just want to pop them upside their head, Jesus.
Somebody once told me you do not have a 50-50 relationship in a marriage. You
At
have
all.
100% and 100% because you're each giving 100% and you're each taking 100%. And so when you look at it that way, it's like, okay, we don't have to be equal in everything because
Mhm.
everybody is different. And a lot of times it's the differences that bring us together because then we can lift each other up when the other one needs to be lifted up. The differences are like, hey, I've got this idea that I know how we can do this. It's like, okay, good. You're there
Mhm.
working together and you're using those differences to make a whole, to make it go.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I always say, um, in most cases, you have to have different in the relationship
yeah,
because where you're weak, that other individual has something that's going to pull you out. And
yeah,
where you're strong, you have something that's going to help pull them out. And the
right.
crazy thing is how life works. The capacity of what each individual is built with is different. Where you, LS, may be able to do 500 things to possibly maybe the one thing that maybe your spouse knows how to
Yep,
do,
that's
but
true.
pulls, yeah, but the
Or
thing
vice
about
versa.
but but God gave you that bandwidth in order to carry,
Yeah,
because if you were like that, it may cause different distractions.
right.
You know what I mean? Because someone who's high energy, like you and I, we're very high energy. So to sit down, we're trying to think about there's work that needs to be done. We're like,
Got
even
another
in the
project.
rest state, like for us, we have to learn how to rest in,
Oh,
because
yeah.
if like it's always something that needs to be done. Like my brain is going when it first wakes up, and I say to myself, what has to be done today? It can go through everything that's going to get done today. My partner, no, rest. Just rest. I I don't even understand it sometimes. I'm like, it's 24 hours in a day. I feel like there's not enough. And somehow you can fulfill the 24 hours. And you can fulfill it.
I was like, oh, so yeah, and part of it too is we learn these things that are not our strengths. We learn them from the other one.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I learned how to
yeah,
rest because of that. I had to, because I really didn't know. I mean, I actually went through a place of kind of getting some type of anxiety at some times when I had to rest because I felt like there's something that had to be done.
yeah. Okay, I had 5 minutes. Can I get up now?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I get that from my mother though, because my mother was like that. She was
Ah,
very high, she was very high energy. My dad was the rester, to say the least. He was the rester. And my mom is like, she is pew, 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 pew. And I understand it because I'm the same way. Like
yeah,
there's work that needs to be done. I don't understand why you have a moment to even sit down. But
yeah.
like,
But it's
but
those
it is
moments
very
are very
good.
precious. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you learn to appreciate. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
And
Really.
the other way around, it's like I'm sure you get appreciated because we know when something needs to be done, you're going to get it done. You're not just going to
Absolutely.
wait for it. So there's victory in both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Victory in both of them. I like that. Is victory in both of them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, so I've just learned how to in this season, I just have learned how to trust God and take every walk and embrace every victory in every lesson. I don't call them, I try not to call them try to get myself hung up on
Yeah. I use
issues.
challenges now.
Yeah, a challenge that has to be learned.
Yep, that's right. And you do,
This
you
is
learn from it. And I think at least for me, I do not celebrate enough victories. If
oh,
I was to list all of the victories through the day, I would be very shocked at how many there are because I've got my gratitude journal. And one day I thought, well, I'm just going to be grateful for the victories I had today. And I start counting them up and it's like, whoa. And I thought there was nothing. And it's like, I better rethink this attitude I have and really be grateful for everything I have. Um,
Mhm.
it's because anything can be taken away from you in a second. And it's like, I want to be grateful for what I have. So God will keep blessing me with what I have. Because I think when I start becoming ungrateful, taking advantage of it, He's going to say, oh, well, then you don't need this anymore. Or
Mm.
He says, I'm going to block you from it because you are not in a good place and you need to go back to where I put you. You know, stop wandering around, stop going off and other adventures. It's like, this is where I want you to be. Look at
Yes.
what's around you. And it's like, yeah, and you get a whole different attitude. We're talking about feelings and thoughts and actions, but you do with the attitude, it's like, wow, this is really great. So, a day I may start up just feeling kind of down. As you get older, your emotions really change because it's like you're going through teenagehood again. One day you're
Yeah.
up, next day you're down. Like, oh my goodness, not again. But it's like I don't be down today. I've got
Mm-mm.
a whole life ahead of me. Where's this excitement? Sometimes you may not realize it, and then it's like, okay, have you smiled today? Have you laughed? I hear about
Mm.
laughter yoga where you just start laughing. And it makes a
Yeah.
difference. You talk about God having humor and being funny.
Oh, yeah, he's very
Look
funny.
at how many benefits we get from when we laugh, even when we just smile. I
Yeah.
mean, putting a
Yes.
smile on your face changes everything. And then you
Hmm.
add a little bit of laughter to that and yeah, I think God has a really good sense of humor.
Oh, I know he do, because he made me.
Yeah.
I know he do. I said the other day, I put on social media, I said, one prayer answered deserves a victory of 1,000.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, absolutely.
And I just had thought about just yes. Thank you. That thank you. To the point I was about to run. Matter of fact, I think I did run around the house.
Oh,
Because it was because I know. You know what I mean? When you know, like
yeah.
that was a victory. Even if the victory has not been all the way manifested, you can still see it.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that I could still see the manifestation, I know in my mind and in my heart and in my soul, I said, well, I know you're going to do it then.
Yeah.
Because it's like going to a parent and you ask for something and maybe your brother or your sister got it first.
Ooh.
But because they got it, it empowers you to feel like I know mine's is coming next. That's how I felt. I felt so
Yeah.
happy about it. I was so happy, like, oh,
That's
thank
awesome.
you. Because it was a prayer that still was answered. It still was a gift that was given. That's how I look. It still was a gift that was given. That was made, that the request was still made known. So to know that you heard me is where the joy comes from.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've had to learn, and unfortunately, sometimes I've got a hard head and it takes a while for me to learn things,
No,
but
no.
there is joy in the waiting. And why does God say to wait? It may not have anything to do with you.
Mm, that's good.
He's working on this over here, or this person needs to be doing this here, or something else needs to happen there before you can get the gift. It was
Mm,
it was just amazing. And I can do a real quick example of us getting this house. We were going through houses and looking, we found this. This is the one I wanted. Came off
mm,
the market right away. Realtor called and it's like, what happened? And she goes, there's something wrong with the roof and they don't know when they're going to put it back on the market. Well, we're almost done looking. It's like it's getting towards winter. We've got to either get a house or get another year with the rental that we're at. And it's like,
mm,
we got to do something. So had another realtor in the same company, but another realtor took us around. He goes, I got this house I'd really like you to look at. We come up here and I'm driving here and it's like, this looks familiar. And we get into the driveway and it's like, I recognize this place. Now out front, that made me really realize I was at the right place is they had this bull made out of
mm,
metal that was a barbecue grill. Sounds really gross, but it was real adorable. Somebody was just a craftsman. And so it's like, oh, I recognize this place.
mhm,
I wonder if it's the one I'm really thinking of, because when you're looking at houses, they just all jumble up in your mind after a while. So we
mhm.
go inside, and it was like, this is the house I wanted. They got the roof fixed, and they were able to put it back on the market. And I'm like, this is it.
That is
We're
crazy.
not looking at nothing else. But we had to wait until they could get the house prepared for us to get it. So thinking of something like that, it's like, okay, God, I'll wait because God says, okay, you want this? I really want to give it to you, but I got something way better for you. And it's going to take a little bit, but then you're going to get it and you're going to love it so much more. So when we get a yes, or we get a no, or we get silence, the silence is the waiting, and the silence is something else has to happen for this to happen for you. And
That's crazy that you said that.
okay.
Same thing. Because one of the same things happened with my house.
Oh, wow.
I we had a real estate agent. We came to the house. I never forget, it was me, my partner, who was coming here to see the house. And but it had a rose on it. So my middle name
Oh,
is Rose, but I looked at it as like an emblem, like that's my
yeah.
emblem. But when they opened the door, the renters opened the door, something in the house said, mm-mm.
Oh,
So
oh,
I said, no,
oh,
I said, this is something's off. That's what I said. I said, no, I'm not going to I told the renters, I told the real estate agent, I said, tell them we'll come back. That's fine.
yeah.
Couple weeks later, matter of fact, a few weeks later, I'm outside, I'm talking to my cousin. I see the house on the market, what's what the opening house. That's what it was. It was an
Right.
open house.
Okay.
I had 15 minutes, like 30 to 15 minutes to get in, and I'm up there yapping my gums, about to miss it because I was talking to my cousin. Something said, Danielle, get off the phone. So I got off the phone, came to this same exact house that first I was like, tell them we'll come back because it was renters here.
Right.
Came back to the open house. The owner was here. He happened to be also a real estate agent. The house was totally renovated, top,
Wow.
bottom. What I seen first, it was not. If I would have walked in the first time, I would have never came back. God knew
Right.
I wouldn't have came back for the open house. The fact that the house, because when I first came, it was carpet. When I came back, it was floor to floor, hardwood floor, just
Oh, wow.
like, just wall to wall. That deal worked out so wonderfully. I tell people this, we only we walked out the closing with money. We didn't even we walked
Awesome.
out we walked out the
Yeah.
closing with money. I never, even to the point I actually had hired an attorney. The attorney somehow, how the originator did it, he made sure the attorney got the money within the deal. Didn't have to pay them
Wow.
$1,000. I didn't, because I was like 900 or $1,000. Didn't have to pay anything. I said, God, you funny. I said, you
Yeah.
funny. Because we had like a month and a half to get out the house.
Oh,
And
wow. Oh,
I mean,
wow.
out the apartment. I'm sorry, out the apartment. I'm like, I don't, we on a time. And I tell you, when I walked in here, it's the crazy, I don't know. I remember a real estate agent saying, you'll know when it's your house.
Yes.
I
Yes.
knew it was my house. I said, this is it. I said, this is
Isn't that
it.
crazy? Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
There we go. Two examples of something. You just gotta wait.
Gotta
Right now,
wait on
not
it.
the right
It's
time.
coming.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love
Oh,
that.
oh, me too. Me too.
Yes. So yeah, so there's been a lot of things I will say that I know that's coming in 2025. That's going to blow our
I
mind.
I am I'm not waiting for it, but I'm so anxious for it. It's like I can hardly wait to see what happens because it is. I too. I believe it's just going to be something that we don't even expect, something really good. And
Elated about it
yeah,
too. Do
yeah.
you have, let me ask you a question, Ellis. Is there some type of lighting in your house?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, do you have like a light that's like near you, like a lighting?
I got a great big light here
The
and a little
craziest
round ring
thing
here.
is while we're talking, there's certain times that you illuminate differently.
You're not the first person to say that.
Okay, I was like, Jesus, wait a minute.
Even before I got these lights, even when we were in the rental place, I've had other people say that to me. That's
I said,
interesting.
Jesus, help me, God,
It's
because
that light that shines out of
and
me.
I'm being honest, it's a different type of illumination. It's not a light that, I knew you didn't have it. I just had to ask because God knew I just had to ask. But the
I
way
love
it
that.
illuminates, you have to see it for yourself.
I wish I could. I even had somebody take a picture, do a screenshot, and it's like, I don't see it, but, the lighthouse doesn't see the light that it's got shining out. Yeah,
No, that's different.
that's awesome.
And I'm be honest, that is, and I'm because I was trying to keep my mouth kind of like shut about it. Okay, I said,
I
let me
got a
ask you.
lot of people praying over me today. A lot of
I
people
tell you
praying.
one thing, he is there in the midst.
Yeah. I'll
Because
tell
that
you
type of light is
something.
different. That's not a light that you could just, that's not natural. That's a supernatural light.
Yeah, supernatural light. When I was in Idaho, I was going through a lot. My
Mm,
husband had been diagnosed with PTSD. There was
mm,
a lot of stuff because of that was going on that wasn't good. And at one point, I said, I need to go take a walk.
right.
And I might have said it pretty rough. Not as nice, but it's like, I'm going for a walk. Don't
Mm,
bother me. And so I went out walking and I'm mad and I'm frustrated. And it's like, how do I get through this? And how do I still stay your child? And what do I do? And I'm walking through and God's just letting me get it all out. And then we're walking and I'm finally calming down and I really start praying hard again. And all of a sudden, as strange as this is going to sound, I could feel God walking here. I could feel Jesus walking here, and I
mm.
felt the Spirit around us. And it's like, it's all going to be okay.
That was beautiful.
I don't need
I
to
believe
worry
you
about it.
because that light is real. No, I believe I I am one because my eyes have seen a lot of supernatural things.
Oh,
So
wow. Nice.
it's some of them are nice, some of them aren't. Because
No,
what you see, some of the light you see, some of the dark you see.
I
But
remember when I wanted to learn about angels, I got a book, fabulous book. It's called Angels Among Us by Rhodes, and I can't think of his first name. And he's talking about kids that are in a hospital because they're severely ill.
Mhm,
And sometimes the kids say, I see black angels and they scare me. And sometimes I see white angels and they make me feel safe. So,
mm,
there's stuff going on. Stories I've heard of missionaries in other places where evil is just going to come, that the soldiers or whatever they are going to come, they're going to murder everybody in the schoolhouse, everybody in the village,
mhm.
and they come again and nothing happens, and they come again and nothing happens. And the one missionary at this one particular time, um, had a few months later saw one of the guys that used to be a part of that, whatever it is,
Mhm.
warriors, that now it changed or something. And he
Okay.
goes, why didn't you guys ever attack us? We saw you come and then you'd leave. And he goes, we couldn't because of all the soldiers dressed in white around you. And they're like, okay. you know, supernatural. Like Elijah says, open their eyes so they can see that you're there, so they're not afraid. And the men's eyes were open, and they saw all of the angels that were there to battle for them. And you know, we, what's the verse? Our battle is not with flesh; it's with spiritual powers.
Principality of the air, yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And there's too many people who see things that are different. That's why I wrote the book, and
Mhm,
it's an anthology book, a collaboration of
mhm.
modern day miracles experienced by ordinary people. Because I wanted people to know that miracles still do happen today. And they don't happen to people who are pious or who are very spiritual or anything. They happen to
Right. It's just
ordinary
ordinary
people.
people.
Yeah, all the time. You talk to nurses, you talk to doctors, you want to find out about miracles. Talk to them, how
Mm.
things happen that never should happen. It's just crazy, and the stories that are in that book are amazing. Um, uh, yeah, they're just amazing stories. And I talk about the time that my daughter and I are coming back. We were at an event, we were having a good time, and we're at this four-way stop, and I hear the truck, I see the truck, but I figure he's going to stop. They always stop there. And it
Right.
sounds to me like he's slowing down. But I think what I interpreted, this is where we go about so many people see something, but I think what I interpreted was him slowing down was him actually speeding up and
Wow.
expecting him to stop. I put on the gas, go, and all of a sudden my daughter's, I don't know if she said something or if I looked and saw it, but this is her window and the front of the truck is right there. And all of a sudden, the truck is down there, we're over here, and it's like we turned into vapor and just weaved in and out of each other. Because there is no way that truck being that close, and we're in a little Jeep, no
Mm.
top on it,
I believe it.
and we're clear over here, and I stopped. The truck hit his brakes. You could see the marks on the road.
Wow.
And we're both sitting there like, what just happened? And what'd you do? Nobody got hurt. You can't go out and exchange anything. Why? Nothing happened. But it was just, it's like,
That is
God,
wild.
God with you. And I for a long time I thought, if my daughter hadn't have been with me, I wondered if I would be here or not. Because I have seen the spirit over her in several situations.
Mm.
And I've seen it with my other kids too. That anytime her and I are together on a road trip or in a car, There's, you just, okay, what's going to happen this time, Lord? It's just kind of funny.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just amazing. But there's too much evidence to show that there isn't a supernatural world out there, because there is. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh no, I know it to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's interesting. You saw that light. Just, it's like, again, okay.
Yeah, no, I
All
know it to
right.
be true. No, I saw it. I saw it. I saw it.
Okay. Well, we should finish up here and show me your book again. I love
Absolutely.
that title. I love the cover on it. It's just powerful. Can you see
Coming out that
maturity
dark
and
place.
awareness right there? Yeah. So where can we get the book?
You can pick it up Amazon.com. You can always email me at speak@dlawscode.com if you also want a copy. I'm in New Jersey, but for those that are worldwide, Amazon.com.
Yeah.
You can go on there and see it and actually, write out a review as well. And that book right there is a 31-day devotional journal. So,
Oh,
however,
nice.
wherever you possibly may be, you don't have to start from the beginning. You can
Yeah.
start wherever that person or that individual may be dealing with whatever they're dealing with and journal out the emotion. And you're going to have to sit in it. Fortunately, but unfortunately, it's not always going to feel good to sit in some of the things
Yeah.
that we have to come out of. But you're going to feel better
Yeah.
when you get free.
Yeah, and just come back to this podcast and listen to DL talk about it and know that
Yes.
you're gonna be okay. You're gonna get out of it.
Love it, LS. I love this time. I love
Oh,
it. Oh, this was so
great. Thank you
organic.
so much. Yeah, this was very unusual, but it was great.
Yes, it was very
So
organic.
necessary. All right.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much. Thank
Oh,
you for having me.
anytime, anytime. All righty.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Wisdom on the Front Porch with your host, Ellis Kirkpatrick. You can find us on our website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, see previous episodes of the podcast, and view issues of the magazine. Did you know you can submit questions, leave reviews, or suggest topics? You can also tell us where your favorite front porch location is and what it means to you. We hope you gain value and insight from today's or previous talks. We appreciate your support for us so we can continue to provide value and expertise to you and others. Join in next week when we bring you another great insight into the world of entrepreneur culture and lifestyle. Make today a great day. Always believe that something wonderful is going to happen.